Greetings, hi, hello, Fire Lotus the Witch, welcome to and/or welcome back to my YouTube page. Today we're going to talk about magical oils. This is going to be a multi-part video. Today I'm kind of going to go over some of the basics of magical oils and how I know how to use them. And then I'm hopefully going to be doing a video on how to make them by doing a tutorial video and then turning around and doing a tutorial on different ways that you can use magical oils. So, let's start out with starting oils, or what is a magical oil. In my definition, a magical oil is an oil that is enhanced and or enchanted or charged or set with specific intentions to draw in, take away, cut through, bring clarity, so many different things. It has a set meaning due to how it is formulated and how it is made. And people get very, very strict with how they make their oils. Which is why I'm making this video, for you to discover which ways to do it. So, what oils can you use? Great carrying oils, and you can get them semi-cheap. You can get grapeseed oil, sunflower oil, olive oil, obviously. There's two oils that I'm not really thinking of, that I can't think of the name of. Basically, any oil that is safe to go on hair or skin that you are not allergic to can theoretically be used. I've even used cooking oil in a tight pinch before, alright? It worked. So, there's you some starting oils. Now, there are multiple ways to process this. There are very advanced ways and there are very simple ways. The most simplest of simple is you have formulated the herbal recipe, or roots or bark or dust and dirt. There's so many things you can add to oil, including like glitter, like little charms, so many things. So you have your recipe formulated, correct? All right. So you're going to get the oil, and then depending on your mixture, depending on your formula, you're going to add the herbs. Now, this is a vital step because you're not just going to just drop the herb in there and go about your business. You have to think of the herbs have so many different types of correspondences. It needs to know what its job is in that oil. So you basically say rosemary for love, rosemary for luck, so forth, so on, to every single herb and or root that you use. Now it has an assign. It knows its task to do. Now here's the processing. The simplest of simple, you pour it in a jar, you mix the herbs, you charge everything, and then you basically leave it on a shelf. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, 3 months, 3 years. It all depends on you. Some people speculate that the more that it sits, the more that it draws in its potency. Now here comes the other end of this, which is, I've literally seen arguments online before, which is the heating up of the oil with the herbs in it. The reason you're doing this is because the heat is going to, you're basically extracting the not only metaphysical, but you're also theoretically extracting the healthy aspects of the oils, the essential oils and things like that. So you're heating it up. All the herbs are releasing their little, the little funky shit, while also being able to mix properly in with the oil. Voila. But wait, we're not done. You can also use sigils. You can either burn the sigil or put the sigil in the bottom of the jar on the outside, or even in the inside to fully charge it. You can also take this a step further by literally looking up planetary hours, depending on what you're trying to do. Find the planet that matches with that, and then look up the planetary hours. That way, while you're making it and or while you're charging it, it is going to be in that astrological hour, so therefore you're going to draw in that ability as well. You can also set it up on specific altars. Say you work with your ancestors and you want communication. Say you work with Hecate and it's a road opening one. See what I mean? You set it on their altar and you let it sit. With me, I kind of treat it like a tincture. So I do preferably like to let them sit and age for the oldest oil that I currently have, which it's an infinity oil. So as it gets low, I just refresh all of its ingredients. I've had for going on like 10 years now. That's my miracle oil. That shit will do miracles. Literally do miracles. Now here are some safety tips. Research the herb. whether it's a magical or even medical, research it, as in you need to make sure if you're going to apply it to the skin that you're not allergic to it. If you use essential oils, research how to use them, because if you fuck around and do not dilute it right, it will literally blister your skin. You will literally get like 3rd-degree burns with it. So please do your research when it comes to essential oils or any type of extract that will go anywhere near the skin, which means, well, you're like, it's not a body oil. Unless you were going to use a glove every single time you touch it to anoint candles and other trinkets and bobs, you need to make sure that it's not going to have an allergic reaction to your skin. That's simple. With the heating it up, you can do a double boil. Just again, be careful. You are heating glass up. You are also heating oil up with herbs. All right. Now, when I say heat up, you're not going to heat this shit up to where it's boiling. Some can, but particularly magic wise, they don't. Again, everybody is going to be different. Yes, you can add mica powders. You can add, like I said before, trinkets and different roots. Some people will leave the herbs in it. I personally like to leave the herbs in it, but it can cause issues with roll bottles, spray bottles, and or even dropper bottles, because it'll eventually clog. I know people that get all the herbs that they're trying to do, and then it's not my method, of course, because it gets a little messy, but they'll grind it up into a very fine powder. But again, depending on the herb, when it hits that oil, it may look a little weird. I know some people who will just loose leave it. And then they'll eventually like go through a process of straining it and purifying it, straining it and purifying it. That's completely up to you. Now, if you look online, hands down, there are 3 companies that I like to use. That is Conchicadia. I hope I said that right. There's going to be links to everything I'm about to mention. Mojo. Lucky Mojo. There we go. And I think it's called The Art of Root. You can find them on Amazon. I've used multiple different types of oils from the 3 companies. 2 of them are small businesses. I don't know about Art of Root. I think it is, but I'm not for sure. They are on Amazon. But I've used multiple ones of their oils, and they work very well. I love oils, magical oils, because they're so universal, especially if you are in a situation where you can't like display witchy shit. It's just a essential oil. But you can anoint sigils, like in the video that I demonstrated where I had sigils running up and down my arms. You can do it to anoint charms, obviously anoint candles. There are certain oils like fast luck oil that will help bring in luck. There's black cat oil that can reverse bad luck and transmute it into good luck. There are some practitioners that have made transmutation oil. I'm going to be looking into a recipe that I'm going to create for that as well. But oils, that again, it's literally they're the things that you can do with them. Not to mention they last, and you can make a small batch. You can make a really, really big batch. You can wait for specific astrological events to take place. Like say you want some really, really good phoenix oil. That's what I call it anyways. Do it during the eclipse. You have lunar energy and solar energy, and depending on the type of eclipse, you can have that balance. You can have where there's a little bit more solar energy than there is vice versa. And voila. If you work with deities and you've been working with that deity for a while, you can make an oil that would basically be dedicated to that person. You'll see it online where it's like Freya oil. Basically what that is the herbs in it normally are associated with that deity or spirit, and then using it, you can either honor them by using it, you can use that oil to connect with them, or you can even use their oil in spell work, and that's kind of like their stamp of a blessing, if you would. And again, you can find there's so many different types of oils. Now, with the oils, you may come across things like, for an example, Art of Root. In the description of their oils, they're Egyptian, hoodoo. I don't know if conjure's in there, and I don't know if the word voodoo's in there, but you're going to see that, and that is the reason oils are there in very enriched in folk practices. Hoodoo, voodoo, conjure, because actually, I'm not going to go into the history of that. If you don't know, look up the history of hoodoo here in the United States. around the 60s, 70s, and 80s and the catalogs, you'll understand some of the things that you see online. But at one point in time, that was how a lot of their stuff was sold. It was mail order catalog. Um, but yeah, and if you get an oil, test it out. You can also put crystals in oils as well. If you do that, please do your research. There are some crystals that if they get wet, or if they get heated up and things like that, bad things can happen. So obviously, please do your research on everything that you're about to add to that oil. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to think and trying to make sure I go over all like the basics of it. Now, typically, as a slight herbalist, I would suggest getting amber bottles to keep the oil in, or UV protected bottles. Now, I know with tinctures that helps preserve the actual like essence of the plants that you're trying to consume. Obviously, with these magical oils, you're not going to be consuming them. Um, but yeah, that's a 50-50. But I also can state that if you read most books, they do tell you to store it like in a cool, dark area. So you're not going to place it directly in like your window unless you are using the heat from the solar energy to infuse that, which you totally can. Um, just obviously be cautious, and have fun with it, all right? Trust me, it took me about 4 or 5 different tweakings of a recipe that I came up with for my oil to actually work the way that I wanted it to. So it is a science, all right? In other words, okay, you make your first batch of oil. It's good, but you're not getting the results that you want. Go back at it and tweak the recipe. It's just like your craft. You're going to tweak it. You're going to include new things. You're going to throw old things out. You're going to throw new things in until you have formulated the perfect oil. And when I tell you, there are so many placements, or so many things that you can do with oils. Like recently, I've gotten Come To Me oil, and I've also gotten Shut the Fuck Up oil. I'd never thought in a million years to use Shut the Fuck Up oil on my own brain. You know, my anxious, sad, big sad people. You know how our brains are really mean to us. Yeah, it works. I have concentration oil that was sent to me. Um, but the Come To Me oil, a lot of people use Come To Me in love spells. Obviously, Come To Me. You can also use it in money spells, job opportunities, opportunities to like do something that you've been wanting to. There's so many things that you can do with these oils. Just please make sure that you're not allergic. Anybody who's going to use it, they're not allergic to any of those herbs or even the oil. Research, research, research when it comes to the herbs, the types of oils. If you want to get scientifical, the temperatures that the oils need, or the herbs need to be at in the oil for it to release its all magical goodness. And yeah, have fun. And revisit. I encourage you to revisit. Now, when it comes to oils, a lot of people ask, well, is it like spell work, or is it going to be instant? It just depends. It depends on what you're using it for. It depends on how it's formulated. If it's a dud, don't get discouraged and like just walk away. Just go back at it and try it again and again and again and again. And you're like, well, Lotus, do I need all these fancy herbs? And I don't have all these. You don't need it. Most of the herbs that you can buy at a grocery store, you can use. And actually, there's a lot of ingredients that you can find out in your own yard, or your vicinal area, that you would be able to use in oils. Oak for resilience, for strength, for grounding, balance. There's rose bushes. There's so many other plants that you can find out there. Trees, shrubs, what we call weeds, dandelions, and things like that. All of those can have a magical property. Just please do not mix any poisonous plants in with your oil, especially if you're heating that up, because it will extract it and you just have a toxic oil now. So please, also while you're researching this, you're going to come across the topic of flying oil. Unless you are advanced, do not try making it, because some of the recipes that you will find online may be slightly traditional. Traditional flying ointments or flying oils, primarily it was more of a salve. They literally have like deadly nightshade and belladonna and toxic, depending on how it's used. I'm not trying to scare you, at all, especially if you've read anything about the poison path. I'm just saying, don't poison yourself, and or don't be the witch who has to go to the hospital because you poisoned yourself accidentally. Okay? Do your research. If it calls for a poisonous plant, 9 times out of 10 there is some type of substitute that you can use. I would suggest tobacco, but you may not want that because it has nicotine in it. So if you soak that in oil, I don't know if the nicotine transfers over. I'm assuming it does, but I'm not an expert, alright? In other words, don't go out and get some like fucking Queen's Anne's lace and all this other shit and start mixing it in oil and be like, I have this. No, you're gonna have death. Okay, that's what you're gonna have, or you're gonna have a really bad reaction. So before adding any of the herbs, research, and you have no excuse not to research. If you have a mobile device of some sort and you have some amount of internet, you can do research. All you gotta do, magical correspondence to the plant. And then you're gonna look up, is this plant toxic? If consumed or if touched by the skin. Simple research, quick research, but research no less. As always, thank you so much for watching this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will try to make a video of it. Thank you so much for making it here to the very last point. What is your favorite type of tree? I don't think I've asked that before. Yeah, I don't think I've asked that before. But yeah, let me know your answer in the comments, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you get all the notifications of when we go live and or post.